Welcome back to another episode of the Savage Says podcast, aka our cable show, which is the only way I will be referring to this podcast from here on out since watching The Princess Diaries for this first time in a few years. Do you know what I'm referencing?
No, like loosely. I remember her kind of annoying and woke BFF. I said
Lily.
woke as in worst of all time, not woke. Yeah, Lily has some cable show that she is like really into and is trying to get off the ground. So I get what you're trying to do, I guess, but
wow, not much
it?
enthusiasm really here. I was hoping for more, but I will school you, I guess, in 2000s pop culture. Lily is the woke, and I forget what her cable show is called, but it's something kind of iconic. Similar to like Hot Mess with Lily. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. But there's a line where she goes, "I'm sorry. I'm just upset because I found out my cable show only has 12 views."
It's called Shut Up and Listen.
Also, an alternate title for this podcast.
Right.
So,
Savage says shut up.
Savage says shut up and listen. That might be today's title. We unlocked it so early on.
There you go.
Anyway.
Well, it's kind of rude. You have to be in on the joke. But yeah, the reason I think I was not enthused is because like I read some probably over the top think piece somewhat recently that was like 10 reasons why Lily from Princess Diaries is actually a bad friend. And she was not supportive of her friend, the Princess of Genovia, and it's obviously because she was just jealous.
No, it's only because she was jealous. She was so insecure because what's her name? Mia T. Thermopolis? Rinaldi. Thermopolis. Yes.
Amelia. Yeah, whatever.
She got like a really fierce blowout and her hair looks amazing and she's just jealous because she has a busted haircut.
Yeah, and she's overall just not that cute. So that's our take on Lily from Princess Diaries. But thank you for that intro and reminding me about that segment. That is funny, and that is a funny
parallel
tie-in
to this,
to what we're doing here. So I think we might have more than 12 listeners. Maybe.
I think we do. But I've just really been like consuming a lot of great content recently. I watched The Act. I think we talked about that a little bit, but I finished that in light of Gypsy Rose's freedom. It was so eerie, but pretty soon after finishing that, I launched into the prison confessions of Gypsy Rose, which I didn't realize you only get the first 2 episodes before you have to pay lifetime.com to access the rest. Or like on Amazon Prime, it's like $2 an episode, which is rude, but I got a little taste of the first 2.
Yeah, I was flipping through channels this weekend and it came on, or I saw it, the Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose on the Lifetime TV guide. And I put it on, of course, at like 2 a.m. And I was with my friend Miranda, and she had heard of Gypsy Rose, but wasn't familiar with the whole thing. And of course, as this is unfolding in front of us, like in the dark at 2 a.m, talking about Gypsy Rose and her murderous past, she was like, "What are you watching? Can we please turn this off? This is so scary and it's late." So I didn't see much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
and it is nightmare inducing for various reasons.
Yes. But sorry, I'm on the edge of my seat because I need to know more. Gypsy is confessing so many things that really, some of it confirms the information that was portrayed in that show, The Act, but some of it is different, which is an interesting realization, and I would like to learn more about that. But in addition to Gypsy Rose, all over TikTok, all over pop culture and the television, I've really like gotten back into my music phase. I was like strictly podcasts for a really long time. Who could have thought? You know, when you're just like walking the streets of NYC, like you always have headphones, of course, being spatially aware, but I've always got something bumping in the ears because I must be sensory stimulation. Yes, thank you. At all times. So I recently smashed my show tunes playlist, which I haven't done probably since like before the Christmas season started because it was like, you know, Christmas bops. And I'm just like really back in my like theater girl era.
Yeah. Speaking of Gypsy Rose.
Yes. So true.
Do you think Dee Dee... Oh my God. Do you even live in New York? Do you even want to be on Broadway? Literally educate yourself. Gypsy Rose Lee is
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. That's so embarrassing. That's so embarrassing.
Okay, well, catching people up for those who don't know, and it's okay, everyone else. It's not okay, Caitlyn.
No.
Gypsy Rose Lee is the main character or a main character in the musical Gypsy, which is about an aspiring star and her overbearing stage mother, Rose Lee. And the like song you might have heard of it is Everything's Coming Up Roses. And that's Rose Lee performing that as if like she just like had her breakout moment. I've actually never seen Gypsy, the musical, but that's the gist. And It's a little spooky when you consider that like Dee Dee probably had heard of it or seen it, and that's the inspiration for Gypsy Rose's name. And like Gypsy, we'll take Rose Lee, the stage mom, any day over Dee Dee Blanchard, Munchausen by proxy.
The parallels are kind of crazy. And for a long time, I'm not just like being silly. This is for real. I thought like the stories were the same. Like I thought Gypsy was the musical adaptation of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case.
Oh my God. Patti LuPone is screaming at you right now. She's screaming.
And I was just like doting to Mother about like how I'm so thankful that she brought us to the theater growing up and that we have such an appreciation for this fine art. And I'm just so thankful and I feel so cultured and blessed.
And then you're out here thinking that the famous musical Gypsy from like
it's so true.
The 60s is about Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
I'm out here with my heart on my sleeve. I admit to my wrongdoings, and I'm embarrassed, but I am transparent on this cable show. Anyway, I'm like out here crying in the club at Rachel Zegler's rendition of Who I'd Be from Shrek.
Rachel Zegler, if you're not familiar, we don't know, we have all types of people here, but she was a theater nerd, and then she got her big break. It was West Side Story, right? Or was she in something before that? She is Spielberg's
Starlight.
Maria.
Yes. Yeah, I think
and she's beautiful and super talented. And she was just like a theater nerd on YouTube making videos. And now she's a starlet. And I think she's going to be the new Snow White as well, right?
Yes. Well, I think they canceled that.
No, I don't think they did. I think it's coming.
I thought it was like they had to reshoot it and like rewrite the whole thing because they like it was outed to be kind of like problematic, like with the way that they were portraying dwarfism and all that stuff.
I know nothing about that. I know nothing.
I know
about
very
that.
little. Mm-hmm.
Although,
I can't really...
as someone who is Snow White, in skin tone, Rachel Zegler
Irish
is
cream.
Puerto Rican, I think, which is why she was a good fit for West Side Story. I'm just gonna approach controversy here. I think I would be better cast in Snow White. I think it's a little unfair that I can't be in West Side Story, and I'm also not getting cast for Snow White.
Oh no, we have to stop this conversation. We're going to get canceled.
Nope, that's my final thought. That's my final thought on it. The movie's already been canceled, apparently. But yeah, Shrek the Musical, which is about no such real people, so it should be fine.
Just ogres and princess who turns into an ogre, who is actually an ogre at all times. Well, it's also an amazing musical.
I would say that's also the plot of my life is I'm a princess that turns into an ogre at a certain point in the evening.
Aren't we all? Wait, sorry. Interjection. Carrie, my roommate, is very versed in astrology.
In nothing at all, apparently. Sorry, Carrie. Okay, astrology.
In astrology. She knows all the signs, like which is
I was
like
not the same thing as astronomy.
No,
which is a class
very
I did
confusing though.
Pretty poorly in college. Yeah, go ahead.
But apparently, like you're a Taurus, Kelly. She asked me what your sign was, and I said she's a Taurus. I don't know much about anything, but I do know you're a Taurus. And she goes, their factors are that they're stubborn, they enjoy luxury, and they like being comfy. And I was like, wow. Okay. I think the science gods, astrology, astronomy gods wrote that narrative for Kelly. Because like that is you to a T. Enjoys being comfy, is a little bit lazy in a healthy way. Enjoys the finer things in life and is stubborn.
Yeah, okay. My sign is the bull. We all know this. I've never denied it. Is Carrie also just perhaps listening to the Savage Says podcast and has gathered those things from my personality?
Well, yes, because she is a devoted listener, and I know she's listening now. Hello, Carrie. We love you in this place.
Anyway,
back to Shrek the Musical.
So what about you? What is your astrology? What is your sign?
Oh, I'm a Sagittarius,
Capricorn?
but no. Sagittarius, but I don't know what that means. So if someone wants to diagnose me.
You didn't ask her about you?
No, we were too busy talking about you.
Oh, okay. Well, good, as it should be. Back to Shrek the Musical. Fun fact about us, we go to the theater in New York as much as we can. Previously, the ritual was we would get back from the theater with like still a little, theater buzz. And we once upon a time found that Shrek the Musical was available on Netflix, like the pro shot of Shrek the Musical with the original cast, featuring some pretty heavy hitters, including Sutton Foster and Brian Darcy James.
As the ogres.
As Fiona and Shrek. I actually saw Shrek the Musical in 2008 or so in person on Broadway with Mom. I don't know where you were. Yeah. But anyway, we would always put the pro shot on and we would watch like the first 20 minutes and then we would fall asleep. But it has a bitchin' soundtrack. Highly recommend it. Worst revelation of our lives last May when we tried to force my friend Grace to watch Shrek the Musical with us in a New York City hotel room is that it has been removed from Netflix. So I was going to say if I know anyone at Netflix, but actually I do. I know several people at Netflix.
Again,
so if you're listening, my esteemed friends, I need to speak to someone in programming because this is utterly ridiculous.
I have hope. Netflix is constantly taking things off and putting things back on, taking them off, putting them back on. For what reason, I'm not really sure. I have a gripe with Netflix because they are locking me out of my own account, saying that this Hoboken TV is not registered, which is so disrespectful and rude. And I texted Bill because it's our dad. For some reason, he is not like he is not in charge of anything when it comes to subscriptions and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's his email for some reason that all of our family account is under. And so I was like, hey, if you get a code in your email from Netflix, could you text it to me? I'm trying to get into the account here in Hoboken. And he sends back, try 0628, which is his birthday.
Oh, he didn't realize it's not a PIN. It's like a generated code.
Right. Which I could see why he was confused. I wasn't very clear, but it was like, no, like I sent him a PIN to to access. But he was like, I don't know, probably my birthday. Hilarious.
Well, Netflix is cracking down because we keep getting the same message here at home or in our home in Atlanta. We're not using that Netflix account. We're actually using Matt's dad's Netflix account. Or like his house, his family homes,
the
Netflix
family. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like any day now, one of us is gonna get bounced off. But like, sorry to Bill Savage and Leo Nemitz, we know how to get back on, and they don't. So
we don't know what they're gonna do with that.
Yeah, something's gonna happen soon, but I won't be able to answer the phone when that happens. So.
Yeah, but everyone close to us should thank their lucky stars, actually, because I have tried to force on numerous occasions my friends to sit down and watch Shrek the Musical with me because I advocate for it so strongly. It's such a beautiful story. Everyone loves Shrek. Everyone loves Shrek. Even it's a universal piece of art, and the stage production is beautiful. It is so beautiful. Yes. The soundtrack, as you said, bitchin'. Like it's just overall 10 out of 10 musical, and it's so underrated. And so I'm just trying to, I'm sorry, culture my inner circle, and they just laugh at me, and it really hurts my feelings. So if you're listening, which they're probably not, much love. Please watch Shrek the Musical. It's on YouTube, by the way.
It's on YouTube. Yeah. So
the end of the story.
Savage says, go watch Shrek the Musical.
Anyway, what have you been up to, Kel?
I had a pretty busy weekend. I was in Orlando for Miss America.
Orlando.
Yeah, speaking of musicals, that was an excerpt from the Book of Mormon.
Cha-ching.
Yes. Orlando and Florida in general were home to Miss America for the first time this year. Many who know me from the years or Instagram will know that I've been involved in the Miss Florida pageant and organization for a long time, since I was 14. So literally 15 years this year. I started, I competed in my first pageant in 2009. Almost to the 15 years ago to the week or so. It was like the first week of February. Yeah, so pretty freaking crazy. And I've made some of my best friends, lifelong pals. Also, some people I don't like are on that list from these last 15 years. Saw a few of them this weekend. But the pageant, Miss America's history, for those who care, it started in 1921 in Atlantic City, New Jersey, as a way to build tourism for Atlantic City. So they started a bathing beauties contest where girls came and represented different cities at different states. So the first iterations of Miss America actually were city-based, like Miss Philadelphia, Miss Pittsburgh, Miss New York City, Miss Sheboygan, I don't know, would come and compete. And then it evolved into many iterations of what we've landed at now. And it has been in Atlantic City for the bulk of its history. But in the mid-2000s, it actually moved to Vegas. So I attended Miss America 2013 in Vegas to cheer on my great friend, Laura McKeeman, now known as Laura Rutledge. If you watch sports, you might have seen her. I was in Las Vegas for a week when I was 18 after I competed in Miss Florida for the first time and met Laura and became friends with her to cheer her on. And let me tell you, 7 days in Las Vegas is like 4 days too many. And I've lived by that rule ever since. I was like crying at a buffet at 3 a.m. somewhere because I was like emotionally distressed over the evening gown competition.
Of course.
Anyway,
it's all like a big bubble, like the planet. What was that called?
Planet Hollywood.
Planet Hollywood bubble.
Well, Vegas does that intentionally. They put different lighting in the ceilings and all sorts of things to like disorient you as to what time it is, so that the cues for light of like, oh, it's nighttime, it's daytime, I'm tired, I'm not tired. Like Vegas does an intentional job of disorienting that in your circadian rhythm, I think it's called.
Wow.
So that you stay on the floor and like gamble and spend money more. So it worked.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like being in that environment while also being under the like the Miss America. Competing. At those times, they were there for like 2.5 weeks, right?
Yeah. It's a long. Yeah, they're there even longer. They're really not. They're not getting into any Vegas, or weren't getting into much Vegas type stuff, but. Anyway, I was there 11 years ago in Las Vegas. And then the next year, that was actually its last year in Las Vegas. We didn't know that at the time, but it moved back to Atlantic City. And then it was there for a few years. And then after that, it moved to some like casino in Connecticut. And we'll just be honest here, the last 2 years at the casino, 2 or 3 years, the casino in Connecticut, a lot of people saying like, oof, this is not it. You know, it was like a big ballroom and they just had folding chairs out, and the stage was kind of makeshift, like a big dance competition is, you know, not a proper theater. And it had just lost a lot of the glamour and appeal and the really stage quality that it had previously had. So Miss America's had a lot of changes. We don't have enough time to talk about them, but new ownership, some major changes to the competition. And it was in Orlando at the same location where I will be getting married in a year and some change, the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts. So I was really excited to be back there. And, you know, I definitely snuck away and explored the space a little bit. I snuck into the ballroom unauthorized just to look around and got very excited. But the theater was beautiful. The pageant, I mean, everyone has their opinion, but I thought it was really well done. The people I was sitting amongst, which were all former Miss Floridas for the most part, also agreed. Like they were so excited to see the improvements since the past few years. And without naming names, even 2 Miss Floridas that competed in the last few years in a different version of this pageant, all were very mature and more gracious than I probably would have been if I were in their shoes now, to say, I wish I had gotten to compete in this version of the pageant because this was fun. It was energized. The girls were treated with dignity on stage. I thought the talent competition was as good as it's been since I've been competing. We saw 10 good or better talents, which at 25, 26, 27 years old, like kudos to these women for keeping those skills up and having performance ready talents while also doing all the things. And if you haven't seen it, because I think there's been a lot of buzz around it, which is awesome. Miss America is Miss Colorado. She is an Air Force Academy graduate. I let's not get this wrong, given my ties to the military and pilot communities. I do believe she's been selected as a pilot following graduation, but she is not a pilot yet. She has not gone through flight training as an Air Force pilot. She is a private pilot, which is pretty cool too, but very impressive.
I don't think I understood that. So that's a good clarification.
Yeah, I think it's intentionally a little fuzzy. And I mean, it's all semantics. And she's going to be a pilot in the Air Force. She just isn't. She hasn't gotten her Air Force pilot wings yet. But
and like she can't be active duty. She's Miss America.
Well, technically, I think she is. I mean, just like, you know, Matt, my fiance, was in ROTC. When you make that commitment, like you have to go be in the Navy or you owe a bunch of money. she went to the Air Force Academy, which covers your tuition. So you can't just not do it after that. But,
but like at this moment in time, would she still be considered active duty? I kind of get confused with the terms.
Well, yes.
As in she's not out of the military yet.
Right. She's very much in because she has she hasn't served any time pretty much. But yeah, they'll give her some special dispensation in like a PR role for the year as Miss America probably. And she was Miss Colorado before this. She had to have considered the possibility that she may win and worked this out with the Air Force, in advance. Or, this is good for everyone. It's good for Miss America. They're catching attention with this positive girl boss, women in STEM and male-dominated field, military coolness angle. And then the Air Force, the military in general has a recruiting problem and numbers are, at a record low. They also could benefit from the appeal of women and feminine women being interested in potentially joining the military or being inspired that, you don't have to pick between the two, being Miss America or having your feminine qualities of you and then also being a pilot or being in the military. So I think it's awesome. She, aside from that resume item, she was an excellent speaker, really just knocked her onstage questions out of the freaking park every time among a very impressive group. So yeah, all in all, it was a lovely time. Got to dress up, got to be in a beautiful theater that I have obviously a fondness towards, got to see and be around some fun, awesome pageant people that I typically only see over the summer. And this kind of broke it up a little bit since we got to have Miss America in our community, which is a kind of just special thing that Florida's never had before. So lots of fun.
Yeah. Wait, so this was the first time Miss America's ever been in Florida ever?
Yeah, because it's only ever been in Atlantic City, Vegas, Connecticut, and now Florida.
Right.
It's unlike Miss USA, who rotates cities and states a lot.
Oh, okay.
Miss USA is often somewhere different every year or like every few years, whereas Miss America has had more of a stable home, but less so in the last few years.
I think I get confused because for the longest time, Miss America's Outstanding Teen, now called Miss America's Teen, their home was Orlando until this past year, right? Or in the past few years, they moved to Texas?
It was in Orlando since its inception. And then they did 1 year in Dallas last year.
Yeah. And then it was all put together.
They combined the Miss and Teen pageants this year and held them both in Orlando. My hot take on that is I didn't.
Yes, let's hear it.
To run an event, it totally makes sense why you'd have them at the same time. It's easier for all the people involved who are interested in both. From the selfish aspect of the kind of specialness, that's probably not the best way to put it, of Miss America and your Miss America experience. I think if it were me, I probably would have liked a little differentiation from the teens because for those who don't necessarily know, like they were all walking around with sashes that said, Florida or New Jersey on it. Unless you looked real, like there were a lot of times I saw pictures of girls I didn't know and was like, oh, there's Miss Ohio. But it was actually Miss Ohio's teen because they were all, dressed up, all wearing sashes that could easily be mistaken for each other. And, there's something special about your like Miss America experience or your Miss Florida experience, whatever, when it's kind of muddled more like some other pageants that have many age divisions and it's all kind of the same. It's just a matter of how old you are, like a dance competition, right? It's like you're competing at the same competition. It's just which category are you in?
Right.
It loses like little bit of sparkle. For me, on that note.
I would agree. I feel like, and I mean this with all due respect to the Miss America's Teen organization, I guess I just agree with your sentiment in it kind of like dilutes the exclusivity of it. And it's great that like the whole org can come together and be like one united front, if you will. But I think it was also probably nice for the teens to have their moment, the Miss to have their event. Watching from the outside, I completely agree that I think it loses a little bit of the sparkle and just the
and just another factor
of the
on
Miss America experience.
Yeah, on that it was like preliminary winners, right? Like the first night, I think they did teens first, and it was like the preliminary winners for teen or North Carolina, Texas, and Florida. And then the next night, it was the Miss winners, but North Carolina was also a preliminary winner for that. But then it was like, well, wait, but who were the Miss preliminary winners? Who were the teen winners? I was getting the states confused, and that wouldn't have happened if the competitions were more separate.
Right. And if you were confused, as literally people used to call Kelly the pageant encyclopedia, especially in your heyday, you knew every title holder from every year.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
I don't care as much, but
back then less stake in the game. Yeah. Anyway, if you were confused, someone very entrenched in the culture, it must be so confusing for the, grandparents at home who are watching.
Yeah, totally. The teen won on Saturday, North Carolina, and then the Miss wins Sunday on Colorado. And if you don't have all your wits about you or truly understand the difference, you're like, wait, I thought North Carolina won last night.
Right.
Well, she did, but that was the teen pageant. This is the Miss pageant.
Right.
They're different, but they're also being held at the same time. So, all right.
Yeah.
That's our Miss America wrap. Any specific queries on that, hit us up. But overall, very, very, very pleased with the positive direction the pageant is trending. I hope a lot of the behind the scenes things that seem to still be kind of in flex as new adjustments happen all work out for the best. But I was grateful to be there and we had a lot of fun. We also did some other things while we were in Orlando. As I mentioned, one of my best friends, Miranda, was running around with me. She actually celebrated her 10-year anniversary as Miss Florida when we were there. Her 10-year anniversary competing at Miss America as Miss Florida. Where she was third runner-up. So an accomplished queen, but she was very gracious to join me for wedding gown shopping rounds 7, 8, and 9 in Winter Park in Orlando. And okay, guys, I gotta say it. I'm getting fatigued. Oh, wait. Let's take a step backwards. Well, kind of, because the weekend before this, or like 2 weeks ago, I dragged my future sister-in-law, Lizzie, to Bridals by Lori here in Atlanta, Sandy Springs, actually, which I had never seen before, even though like I am in Sandy Springs often. And it's like huge and you can't miss it, except I just like had never gone down that road. And then today I went way out of my way to go to Sonic to get a Diet Coke with vanilla. And I didn't even know that it was beverage happy hour, but it was. And then immediately, like to get back home, I went down the big road with Bridals by Lori. So it's crazy how that happens. But
yeah, that Sonic in Sandy Springs is fire.
Yeah, I think it must be brand new. And it's like,
it's like shiny.
It's yeah, totally. No, I drove like 14 minutes out of my way to go there. And I had a soft pretzel too. It was delicious.
Savage says eat soft pretzels.
Yeah, if you needed more encouragement. But so here's the quick version of this. We went to Bridals by Lori, and Lizzie is a TV producer. She primarily works on Real Housewives, both of Atlanta and Potomac, Maryland. So she's a professional shit stirrer, and I can't wait to be closer to the action. Yeah. But she also was doing some work for Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta a few years ago. So she knows the whole squad over there at Bridals by Lori. And we went to brunch, and then we went over there. And we were definitely treated like VIPs because they all knew her. And it was a good experience. It's very big. Honestly, it looks bigger from the outside than it felt in the inside. Like, I don't know if they just have a big stock room or something, but it's a huge building. And we had a nice time. There were many beautiful dresses. I think that's the problem is I know what I want. So we're able to be pretty specific at this point. They're pulling what I'm asking for. I've liked many of the dresses. Like I've found, I would say, dresses that we gave like a green light to at literally every single store at this point. It's just a matter of like, is that better than ABC dress or like the last top contender? We tried to like Frankenstein a dress because they had the bottom of this dress that I really like, but with a different top that I wanted to explore. And the ladies there were really cool and helpful. Lizzie was awesome and the ultimate. She was helping me like stage clips. We didn't even really post anything, but she was pointing out, she's like, okay, so this is where we would film the brides walking in. We would get you panning up from this angle. You want to get the sign in the background. And then we were
so cool.
Yeah, we went inside and she's like, okay, so now you would step out, take the dress in your hands and pull it out. She's like, it would feel awkward, but like you have to do it so that the camera can get the angle from over here. So she knew all the tips and tricks for working this bridal shop.
You should have facilitated a whole private episode of Say Yes to the Dress so that we could have premiered on our Instagram.
Well, we pretty much did. It's in my camera roll. But here's the thing about Bridals by Lori, BBL, if you will.
BBL.
You're not allowed to take pictures.
That's so crazy.
It is crazy. And like, I've now been to 9 bridal stores, and that is the BBL is the only one where that's a thing, including Kleinfeld and including all the other heavy hitters in New York. So I don't know. I didn't really ask like what's up with this because, and I hope no one from BBL is listening, we were the only people in there, and obviously they know Lizzie, and they were like, yeah, you guys can take pictures. It's no big deal. Like, no one else is in here. So we do actually have a bunch of pictures from Bridals by Lori. But then another bride showed up and with her crew, and they kind of gave us like the wink, like, hey, don't take any more pictures. But I don't necessarily think that that's because they didn't want me to take pictures of the other girl, because we weren't doing that. And I think that that's a pretty like easy thing to be like, hey, you can take pictures, like just don't take pictures of other people. Yeah. But no, I think they didn't want her and her family to see us taking pictures and then be like, well, they're taking pictures, you know? Right. So luckily
they're celebrities.
Yeah, we're VIPs, other family. Losers. So anyway, we got all the pictures we needed, which was good. But like, if I was a normal person and walked in there, or without, you know, a friend who knew the people, like, I just don't understand why you can't take pictures. And that would have been a deal breaker in the scheme. I mean, honestly, I'd probably not buy my dress there because that are in contention are not there. But we have drawn so many important conclusions from photographs. Mm-hmm. I don't know how if all bridal stores are like this, I don't know how you could make an informed decision.
No way. Not in this day and age.
No. So that was the BBL experience. Then fast forward to Florida this weekend. We went to 3 places. One was the Collection in Winter Park, which for those who don't know, I was Miss Winter Park. What is Winter Park, you ask? It is a gorgeous little
street,
town.
Essentially. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's one street. Kind of. No.
It's kind of like Hoboken.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a posh neighborhood or town, city. It's a city, the city of Winter Park.
It's a city, yeah.
It's a city.
That's why they have title holders.
Yeah, duh. Caitlyn was Miss Winter Park's teen, so everybody come at us.
It's a cute thing.
Yeah, so it's a small, rich, posh city outside of Orlando, and that's like where some of the best dining and shopping is. And they have a few bridal boutiques over there. Makes sense. And one of which, like the main drag of all the like cool shops and restaurants, is called Park Avenue. And it's this bridal store right on like the premier corner of Park Avenue. And it's got like a huge window display. And I've just always walked past it and been like, wow, it looks so, you know, cool in there. And like, oh, maybe one day. So I made that appointment and we went. And it was funny because a lot of the like Yelp reviews and stuff like remark that they're snooty or rude. So it was kind of curious as to what was going to happen. They could not have been nicer to Miranda and I. Right. I do think that they were – I encountered them being a little rude to people that just like walked in and tried to drop in. But there was this like weird couple who like I had a dress on and like I said, you can see through the windows. So like people could see me in the windows, and like some people were walking by like waving, you know, giving a thumbs up or whatever. They were like standing in the front door windows like peering through and like were giving thumbs up. And I was like, okay, thanks. And then they like – she pulled the door open and was like, I'm coming at 5. I can't wait, whatever. And they were like, okay. And then my associate goes, we close at 4:30. So I don't know what she's talking about.
She's like, they're actually not coming at 5 because I'll be gone. I'll be at Cocita drinking a margarita.
Exactly. That's what she said. She's like, I don't know. Because they were definitely saying like, we have an appointment at 5. And she's like, no, you don't.
You're wrong.
Yeah, so they were a little
really funny,
like kind of snooty about other people, and that, you know, whatever, that could be off-putting to some people, but like I appreciated that they were focused on me and our experience. I got to try on some Monique Lullier there, which I haven't been able to try on before. Loved those silhouettes, but it's a lot of lace, and that's not really the direction we're trending. So we did find like there were beautiful gowns. Like that's again the problem we're running into is I like too many things. And then we went to 2 more stores, one of which called the Bridal Finery in Winter Park. I would say that is where our tied first place dress in rival to the Kleinfeld dress is coming from. So that's exciting and also scary. But we had a wonderful, wonderful experience there with our associate Tally. She could not have been more professional. And just it was a lovely, very private, but like well-rounded experience, and saw some designers there that I hadn't before. And then Sunday we went to one appointment at Calvet Couture. Again, had some beautiful things. Nothing that was a real standout for me at this time. But yeah, I totally understand. Like, I know I said before, I get how could people only go to one store and make a decision? Yeah. I think I'm definitely going in the direction of I've maybe been to too many places, and I don't intend to stop at this point. I'm going to Los Angeles next weekend for work, but like I'm in San Diego for work, and then I'm going to go to LA to hang out with my friend John, because I have to be there over the weekend anyway. He's getting married in June. I'm so excited. I'm the maid of honor, and yay! And it's a fabulous gay wedding. So there are 2 tuxedos to be found, and I think I'm going to be helping the grooms do some shopping on Rodeo Drive for that.
That's so exciting and glamorous.
I know.
I don't know why I'm thinking Selling Sunset. Like, it's just giving Oppenheimer, but like not in a weird squatty way, like in a glamorous, like high fashion male's couture way. I don't know. They don't, it's not like they're stunting fits, but the girls are, I don't know. Somehow it makes sense in my brain. But that's so exciting. I didn't know of this plan that you had.
It's all just kind of come together over the last few days. But John is so gracious, and I think we're going to go to maybe one bridal store on Friday and one bridal store on Sunday, and then dedicate the Saturday to he and Chris, but just doing lots of wedding things just so I can, see if there's anything that can't be missed out on the West Coast. And then I have my eyes on a few things or people at Iconic Bride in Dallas, because I have been informed now by multiple sources that the designer it's essentially the flagship store of one of the designers I like. The designer rep owns it, so he may be who I need to consult with on some of my options. At that point, which will be number 12, that is where I'm going to draw the line. And then we've got to really pull together our decision making.
I don't know what 27 Dresses is about, but I imagine it's like something like when they like go on a world tour.
No,
and they try
it's
on 27 dresses.
That is not the concept of that movie. It was about her being a bridesmaid 27 times, but not being able to find love for herself.
Oh, it's cute. Well, it's kind of sad, but
she does in the end. She does in the end.
Who would have thought? Wow. So lots going on across the country with your wedding dress endeavors, and a lot happening in Orlando. And,
yes. Other big thing weekend in Orlando. You're more the subject matter expert than I, but it is obviously of interest to me too. Tell the people.
Yeah. So the Universal Dance Alliance, aka UDA.
Nope. Please welcome subject matter expert Caitlyn Savage to completely botch our next topic.
I'm gonna get nervous.
UDA, just be chill. UDA and UCA, which is Universal Dance Association and Universal Cheer Associations. National competition, aka College Dance and Cheer Nationals.
That's literally what I said. Anyway, so UDA
and it's held, but you're overlooking UCA, and I want to be inclusive of our cheerleader friends who may be listening.
Okay, how about you just take the floor, because I'm flopping, so just explain.
Okay, well, I'll intro it, and then we'll hear more from someone who's lived it.
Great.
Although I've lived it too, as Dance Mom Kelly. So UDA and UCA, as I said, it's the Collegiate National Championship every year. Quick aside, there's actually 2. Half of the schools compete at this other competition in Daytona. I forget what that's called. NDA. Yeah, National Dance, whatever. And that's where Navarro and like Cheer, their national competition, they compete in that one. So that's different. But if you've ever seen like the big castle, the Walt Disney Castle at Wide World of Sports, ESPN's Wide World of Sports, that's what this is. a lot of colleges or universities send their cheer and dance teams to compete against each other. I think that they do the high school championships like the week before. So as a high schooler, you may have competed there for dance or cheer too. But
I think it's the week after.
Week
potato
after.
To potato.
Yeah, but I guess they break it out like that. So anyway, that was held the same weekend in Orlando, which is pretty crazy because a lot of people that are interested in like cheer dance stuff are also pageant people or have crossover. So like I bet there was at least one family who had a daughter in the outstanding teen pageant and like another daughter competing at UDA or UCA this weekend. But there's some heavy hitters that come every year. And Caitlyn, I don't want to speak for you, but I'll speak for me. I pressured Caitlyn into going to a certain university. No, I take it back. I pressured Caitlyn into trying out for a team that historically does very well, very consistently, and is the only one in the Southeast really that is always up there. And she'll reveal who they all are in a minute. But that's how she wound up at her first university because she like low-key accidentally made this very hard to make dance team, which like couldn't be me. What a luxury. But she has indeed been a participant at UDA Nationals. And I have literally never been lived my best life. Favorite dance competition of all time, for sure. It was
for sure
the best of the best. They don't get bigger than this.
Yeah, that was like a long-awaited dream that I think you had for sure to like have a direct correlation to a competitor in that arena.
ESPN's like, Wide World of Sports, yeah.
Yes, particularly in college because you had gone to the high school national championships, right, with some of your friends from high school when they were competing in dance.
No, we never did that. I was on my high school dance team, and they compete now at that competition, but we didn't do it at the time.
Would you guys go? You had been there before, right?
No.
Oh no, you would just watch online. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I would watch all the YouTube videos.
Yes.
Over and over and over again for years and years, and I would keep up with it all via YouTube. So it was very special for me to be there in person when you were on the team.
Well, okay. Dance team has not been until the last few years, I would say, at least in our region, that is Ponte Vedra / Jacksonville, North Florida. Dance team culture is not very big. Like, would you say that's correct? That was never they didn't do these competitions, and they didn't do pom, which is one of the key like styles. One of the
fun fact. I actually was the first like class at my high school. Like I was there the day my high school opened, which makes me sound really old because now that high school has been open for like 16 years. But so I was on the original dance team of our high school, and like we got to like found this high school dance team essentially, which was like not like a little club. There were like 30 people on it, and like a bunch. There were like 150 people who tried out pretty much. So like fairly selective in that way. I wanted poms. I was like, we are on the sidelines of a football game. We should have poms because the dance team where some people had come from, which were the Nice Pantherettes, they had poms. They did sideline stuff. But there was this culture of like, we're not cheerleaders. We don't need poms. We're going to wear our jazz sneakers and jazz pants rather than like cutie little outfits with skirts. And I was like, listen, guys, I have never cheerleaded a day in my life. That's not true. Second grade, but like whatever. But like we need to be hot. Like at 14, I was like, I get it. It's a visual thing. Everyone else needs to get on board. Like nobody wants to see us in black jazz pants and clunky black jazz sneakers doing pas de bourrées across the floor. It's got to be more. There's got to be more showmanship and more of the visual aspect. And poms fill that square. Anyway,
more school spirit, if you will.
More school spirit. Everybody tossed me to the side, said I was stupid, said I was, foolish, whatever, and I went with it. Ultimately, was the captain of the team, but I still never got my way. And fast forward, what do you think these girlies have now? They've got poms, they've got skirts. They are competing at UDA high school nationals. I was ahead of my time is what I was. But I digress. Back to college.
Shout out to you, though, because it really has changed over the past 16 years. It's I still follow the PVHS dance team. I'll shout them out on Instagram. Love following their whereabouts. Never went to the school, but, have a connection because of you. And they look so cute. They have the cutest little, as you said, cutest little uniforms. They have their blue poms. The colors of Ponte Vedra High School are gorgeous. Silver, black, and blue and white. It's so cute. They look amazing. And I think this year, I might be wrong about this, but I think this year was the first year they competed in pom, the high schoolers.
Maybe.
So And just to clarify, pom is a style of dance that is very unique. It's like jazz, but it's not the jazz that is the jazz category at UDA. Those two are very different. Historically, the jazz at UDA is more contemporary or lyrical, very technical. All of this is very technical. Lots of turn sections, lots of tricks, lots of wow factor, which I think is what drew you and then eventually me in, because as we discussed from the very beginning of this show, we love a trick pony. Like, that was me. I was flipping up a storm in the living room from the very beginning. I did gymnastics. Like, I loved the acrobatics. I loved the flash. Often my haters would criticize that I did too many tricks in my stint as a competition dancer, but like, literally, but that's the point when you're 13. Like,
and how many tricks could they do? It seems like the ones who had a lot to say just couldn't actually do those tricks. So that's my take on it. It's
neither here nor there, but the dance team world really values these tricks, and so that was always very exciting for us to watch and follow along. And these, and like at the time too, even when you were still in college, it was so aspirational. These girls were in college. They were on the dance team at their university.
Yeah.
And it was just
and the
like
ones that are in these big categories are, I mean, these are major universities. Like, without, I think we can get to it. Among the top, the heaviest hitters at this competition every year are well, when I was watching on YouTube, it was a neck and neck race every year between the University of Minnesota and the University of Tennessee. For me, Minnesota felt very far off, right? I couldn't have even told you where Minnesota was on a map. Tennessee felt much closer to where we were in Florida, and our dad worked for FedEx. He had an apartment in Tennessee. When I was applying to college, I actually started an application at the University of Tennessee because we would have gotten in-state tuition. I never finished it, but it felt like I applied to Clemson and South Carolina and Auburn and Alabama. Like, Tennessee felt very much like in that same mix. So when it came time for Caitlyn to apply to college, it was like, hey, here's this school that, like, it feels very tangible to us. And we also know it has this excellent dance team. And we went to a dance clinic, and I remember kind of thinking that you might think that it was all kind of silly because, like, you had never been on a dance team because you were doing like more artistic dance throughout high school, whereas I was actually on a dance team doing more sideline cheer stuff. But I remember you walking out of that clinic being like, oh no, we danced hard.
It was crazy. It was on my birthday, actually. That clinic that we went to was on my 18th birthday. And that was the first time I had ever been to, I think Tennessee in general, but Knoxville, Tennessee, where the university is. And we showed up the first night we arrived in Knoxville. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Knoxville really is such a residential city. It's a major city in Tennessee. And it's like kind of a beautiful blend of like college town and residential city.
Real city.
And I didn't really have anything else to compare it to. I hadn't gone and visited a lot of colleges. I wasn't really considering any like Southern or SEC schools besides Tennessee because the other schools I was considering had dance programs, and I was auditioning for those and whatnot.
Well, and we need to differentiate for those who may not know, like dance program, meaning like academic major, and like you're studying that in school, that you have academic classes related to dance versus a spirit program where there's a dance team, a cheer team.
Yes.
Tennessee had a dance team as a part of the spirit program or athletics, but it did not have a dance major or an academic component related to dance or the arts that you were participating in.
Yes. Thank you. Great
But it gets confusing for the layperson.
It is. Where were we before this?
You auditioned for Tennessee. I mean, you said, like, you went through the audition and the coach even asked you, like, if you don't make the team, are you going to this school? And you were honest with her.
Yeah.
And what did you say?
I said no. I am here for this team. I have no other kind of stake in the game besides this team. And I think she was very, very, I don't think she heard that a lot. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. People would come from out of state. Tennessee does not have a heavy population of out-of-state students, whereas
it was like 70-30 in-state, right?
Yes, yeah, the ratio was crazy, and it was a lot of people from Knoxville and from Nashville specifically, obviously, because those are two big cities in Tennessee.
And quick aside though, it's not really crazy. Like a state school like that typically is 70-30-ish in-state, out-of-state. Like Matt went to UNC. That's like even maybe more, 70% North Carolina. Florida is like 70-30. FSU is like, I think the last time I looked was like 80-20 Florida people.
Wow.
So it isn't – Alabama and Ole Miss are actually the anomalies of a much more diverse out-of-state population. But to your point, you were not seeking to go there because you were just interested in the university. It was specifically for the dance team, and you were honest about your intentions.
I was very honest, and I think she appreciated that. And when it came down to it, I think that was a contributing factor as to why I ended up making the team. Yeah, it was all kind of cooked up by Kelly. And I mean that in a complimentary way. You led the horse to water, if you will. And I really loved my experiences at the clinic. I was like, this is my jam. Like we did turn sections and crazy stuff that was really challenging. But like a lot of the parts of dance that I loved that I wasn't necessarily getting in my school program. Because I did also, another clarification, I went to a performing arts high school where we did a lot of ballet and modern and contemporary dance during the day. And I also went to a studio where we competed, not the same competitions as UDA. Different competitions. It's all very complicated, again, to the layperson. But anywho, I'm just getting too out of whack.
No, but this is all good background. The Reader's Digest fast forward is that Caitlyn went to Tennessee because I pressured her to try out for the team, and she made it because she's an excellent dancer. And then
I was like, thank you. But I was like, oh, well, I can't really back out now. I felt like pigeonholed, but not in a negative way. I was just like, I think this made the decision for me more so.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have another front runner. You were kind of ambivalent to all the other schools to a point.
Yeah. Well, there was one front runner, but there were a lot of
go to the audition because the audition was in April. Like
the audition was the day of my prom.
Yeah.
And like prom was kind of silly at DA, but I was going to wear my Miss Florida's Outstanding Teen dress and go with my friends, and I had a ticket to prom, and then I was like, literally the Wednesday before the Friday of the audition, I was like, no, let's do this. And you booked a flight, and we were in Knoxville 2 days later. I auditioned with a Glee cover of And I Am Telling You, sung by Amber Riley, which is highly inappropriate, especially because it's like historically sung by a Black woman, and that's
and it still was. Amber Riley is a Black woman. You can dance to songs sang by Black women.
Okay. Yeah.
They would want you to do that.
Okay.
The song is not about being a Black woman.
No, it's not. It's not, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like I can't dance to "I Am Here" from The Color Purple because
correct. You cannot. You should not.
No. Don't. Savage says don't do that. Yeah.
Not all people should perform to excerpts from The Color Purple.
And it's just like kind of hilarious. Like that is what I brought to this dance team audition.
That's where Coach Kelly T, not to be confused with Coach Kelly Savage, was probably like, who is this little freak?
She showed up here with her front aerial, which at the time were illegal in the UDA rules until fun fact, until like 2 years ago, I think they made front aerials legal. So now that's kind of why you're seeing them. But I was kind of wondering, I was like, because everyone auditioning for this team is amazing and have all sorts of crazy tricks and technique. But that was one of the things I was like, no one else does a front aerial. And I was wondering why. It's because it wasn't allowed.
Well,
and so
no one told you that.
I hate myself looking back. Like I am the wench that I would hate because I'm like, I didn't know anything. I just showed up. Like so annoying.
Yeah, but here's the thing that happens in pageants all the time, where some girl who has no idea what she's doing or is just naturally talented or effervescent or amazing, but is not super you were super polished, but in the pageants example, not super polished or just kind of like, oh, I don't know what's going on, I'm just here to have fun, and then they win the whole thing because they are so fresh and a change of pace from everybody else, and that probably had something to do with it.
Refreshing. Well, not to say that I am any or all of those things, but I think it did. I think me just kind of showing up and doing my best, especially for my personality type, being like a highly anxious gal, I think benefit me and was one of the reasons why I made that team at the end of the day, because I just went and had fun and just enjoyed the experience, and something about it stuck.
It wasn't too high. I mean, I remember sitting in the car and there were girls coming out of the audition, getting cut, like just hyperventilating, and their moms are, you know, in the parking lot consoling them. And because I'm sure at least a few of them like grew up a Tennessee fan, this had been their dream their whole life, you know, but you put so much pressure, and this happens in pageants, and I think probably anything competitive, you put so much pressure on yourself that this is it. This is what you've worked for however long. This matters so much to you. And maybe it is your best performance and it's just not your day. But I think in other times it isn't. It's not your best performance because there's so much pressure on the whole thing. But we have to fast forward.
And I feel badly even like talking about it now, because I get it. I understand now where those girls were coming from, but we didn't at the time because dance team culture was not prevalent where we came from. But I learned very quickly that it is a thing in Tennessee, and it is a thing in Minnesota, and it is a thing in Ohio. And now this is where the Ohio State University comes in. They used to do NDA, and then they switched to UDA, and that's where everything kind of shook up. But I think people that, you know, maybe have come to follow UDA a little more closely throughout the past few years didn't realize that Tennessee, it was always Tennessee and Minnesota. And unfortunately, and you know, there's a lot of controversy and apparently a lot of politics involved, but unfortunately, Tennessee hasn't been in that top 3 in jazz. They made some miracles happen with
the year
Palm.
after you were there, which was amazing.
Crazy.
And that was the first year they'd ever done Palm, wasn't it?
No, it was the first year they ever made finals.
Oh,
they had done it. The year before me was the first year they competed in Palm. The year I was on, they competed, didn't make finals. The next year, they made finals and won. And that was the year, speaking of, that's the year Minnesota did not make finals. Because, and if you saw my, not to brag, but my viral TikTok, you would know, one year Minnesota came with this, what I thought was a very like innovative routine. They kind of put a spin on the classic like school spirit Palm routine, hard-hitting cheer remix, in your face jazz. And they wore what I was very aggressively told in my comments is not black tights, but a green unitard. They wore a green unitard, kind of like those. They're very popular in the dance competition space now. Like mesh tights, like a mesh tight with a brief or a leotard underneath, and it was all mesh, and it had an M, like a monochrome M on it for their Mississippi emblem. No, I'm sorry, Minnesota emblem, and like white palms.
Which is a big divergence from the traditional Palm outfits, which look a lot more like cheerleading uniforms.
Yes, something you would see on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I guess that's what, quote unquote, it's supposed to be representative of, which is so silly because nobody is doing the crazy stuff that these people are doing in these Palm routines. Like, they're nuts. If you've never seen a Palm routine, like, go on a YouTube dive and check out Minnesota, check out the Ohio State University, and check out the University of Tennessee 2020. But I digress. Once again, I made a TikTok in the height of the UDA stuff as finals were coming out, and I was just like, I literally like took a selfie and I was like, LOL, remember that one year Minnesota didn't make finals just because they decided to wear black tights instead of a cute little skirt? And like, I'm sorry, I've never experienced the pressures of fame as much as I have these past 2 days. Like, every time I refresh, 99 likes, 99 likes, 99 likes. I don't know how many it has now.
Well, it's up to 263,000 views.
Wow.
And 22.9 thousand likes, which is wild. Because, like,
that's
no offense, you've posted funnier stuff.
Yeah.
This wasn't even funny. It was like just a kind of reminder. But this speaks to the scope
just a fact
of UDA interest.
Yeah.
I think.
Definitely. It's like actually exhausting, like thinking about like how I have put my heart and soul into some of my TikTok content, and it's like 300 views.
Well, last thought on the UDA UCA stuff. Well, in case you didn't know, so yeah, Ohio State was not always in the mix, or I think they used to compete, then they left and went to the other competition, and then they recently came back, and they're a powerhouse. They won jazz, and Minnesota won Palm, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
As it usually goes, they kind of flip-flop.
Right. I was going to say sometimes one wins the other and one wins the other one, or sometimes they win both. But it's always them neck and neck. And it's almost boring at this point. And that's why like Tennessee winning Palm in 2020 was like so crazy. But you love to see a shakeup, especially with such a great team.
Totally. And they were fabulous.
Other notable person that was at UDA Nationals down the road from me in Orlando this weekend, the one and only Abby Lee Miller, villain extraordinaire from Dance Moms. And we could do a whole episode on Abby Lee, but if you haven't seen the video, she's literally like yelling at her fans, aka the only people like that support her livelihood, to get out of her freaking way, and that she like cannot believe that people are trying to take her picture while she's at literally America's biggest dance competition as someone who is the main character of a show called Dance Moms, when the people who like Dance Moms was at its prime like 8 to 10 years ago, which means that the girls competing at UDA Nationals were between like 8 and 12 years old when Dance Moms was on television, aka literally her target demographic. So like, what did you expect to happen when you rolled up to UDA in your power chair to see this? You'd expected everyone to leave you alone?
No, it's so
Abby.
camp of her. It is so camp of her to get on Instagram and be like, what? Why? I cannot believe this has happened. Like, that's so Abby, you know?
And she released, she's chief gaslighter, and she released a post on Instagram that was like, thank you to everyone who's reached out in concern of me. I wasn't trying to be mean. I just was concerned about safety. Next year, if UDA would like to have me as a judge or as like available with proper security to sell merchandise, I would love the opportunity. Like
a paid appearance.
Abby.
Right.
She's so cray. And she reminds me of so many people that I know in real life, but they will not be named here.
No, it's not a safe space. So that was wild. And the TikToks surrounding that are just like so funny. And the fact that like former famous child dancers that were on shows of the liking of So You Think You Can Dance Juniors, Dance Moms, like are now competing at these competitions.
Are in college and competing in these competitions. Yeah. It makes me feel very old.
It's just wild. Time flies. But I'm just going to give a little brief recap on kind of what I thought of the dances. Here's my thoughts that no one asked for. So Ohio State won jazz. They did a number to Frank Sinatra's My Way, and it was choreographed by Travis Wall, which we do not stand him because he is a child predator.
But I've seen differing feedback that it might actually not have been choreographed by Travis Wall, but I don't have anything to support that. Yeah.
Okay, me either. I'll just speak to what I saw on the stage. I actually really enjoyed it. We, as a unit, are not really like huge fans of like anything overly not controversial, but like overly expressive, if you will. I don't know. We love a clean, classic lyrical dance.
Yeah. I like watching dance for beauty, not for aggression, I suppose. Yeah. But there's a time and place for all of it.
Of course, and it's subjective. That's just our opinions and what we enjoy. So, but I was enamored by this dance. I thought what they did with the costumes was not silly is not the right word, but like I liked the use of costumes because it's just not something you really see on the UDA stage.
Great use of props, I would say.
Yeah. So I thought it was really innovative, and I actually did really like it. But Minnesota, who got second, came with a beautiful aqua lyrical costume. I didn't love their song choice, which was Dream On by
Aerosmith. Well, do you know the whole thing about I don't know, not to be shady, but I feel like I may have seen more UDA stuff than you did this weekend, because like I sent you that clip of the front tuck and I was like, oh my God, like, or just like, can you believe the front tuck? Because the Minnesota team has a male dancer who does like a punch front tuck, which is so hard. Firstly, these are not spring floors. These are like
it's just straight Marley.
So like no bounce. I mean, there's a little bounce, but like not a spring floor. This man does a front tuck, which is way harder than a back tuck, which I am declaring as someone who could never do either, into a set of Alyssa Khan turns, which is literally insane, right? And then they join in a giant synchronized turn section. I just sent Caitlyn like a text like, how about that front tuck? And she's like, what front tuck? Do you mean an acrobatic trick? Like, I think she thought I meant like a French tuck, like tucked into your jeans.
That's what I thought you meant about my outfit that I wore last night.
Oh, no. I was not talking about your outfit. I was talking about that man. And
Rude.
She had not seen it, but
I know I was
but no.
I was a little.
The point is that they're getting some shade because that they did that, not the routine, but they performed to Dream On 20 years ago in 2004. They used the same song.
Oh,
yeah, so that's why they used that song. Yeah, and it's like
love that. It
wasn't the same choreo. If you watch that routine, it was amazing for the time, but like holy Toledo, they were so much better now. But
wow,
they're getting like critique for being unoriginal or whatever. And I mean, in the scheme of things, I think both of those songs are really classics and enjoyable. I would agree with Minnesota was a little bit more classic, beautiful, lyrical, what you expect. And they did it literally at the highest
tremendously.
Level. Yeah. And Ohio State had a little bit more edge to it, which is why I would buy that they had a famous edgy choreographer outside of dance team world.
Oh, definitely.
But
I mean,
I think they were both excellent.
They used Shannon Mather, which is who I assumed choreographed this year's routine.
But I thought, isn't Mather Dance Company, aren't they in Minnesota?
No, that's Larkin. Mather's in California. Yeah, Larkin. So I don't know. I am not able to make any informed declarations, but I liked both of them equally, actually, and they were very different. So I think that's why it was such a toss-up of who was going to win. But that aerial into the turn section that Minnesota did that everyone's buzzing about is crazy. So I think
it is crazy, but the front tuck was crazier. And I get it. It was just one person and everyone did the aerial into the turns.
Yeah.
But I've seen, I don't know. It was all amazing. Yeah. Savage says, go teams.
Go teams. We appreciate you all. Also, Ohio State's pom, I think I did prefer over Minnesota's.
Well,
so
the skirt
good.
trick. We love a skirt costume
trick was
gimmick.
So fun. I love a gimmick. Like, it's just so silly and unnecessary. And it just like, but like this whole, like, honestly, like the whole dance competition, especially the collegiate dance competition world it's all just silly.
It's all a gimmick.
Like, it's all a gimmick because this is the one time in history of the year that like you do this crazy stuff. Like,
and it's about you. You're not just a side.
Yeah.
You're not a side dish to a football team or a basketball team.
Exactly.
It's your turn to show out. So let's freaking go.
Yes. And it gets more and more, and it just gets more and more spectacular every year. The teams keep getting better and better. I can't even imagine what these teams are going to come with next year. So I'm really excited to find out.
Yes.
And go Tennessee forever.
Go Vols. I had so much fun in Knoxville, even though Caitlyn transferred.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Anyway, I think that's a wrap on Orlando 2024.
Yeah. I mean, can you believe it? We talked for way too long about pageants and dance competitions.
Who could have thought that that's what this podcast
and wedding dress stuff
turn into?
Right. Not I. But you had some questions for the group before we call it a week.
Oh, yeah. I just had some queries. They have nothing to do with anything, but just some thoughts that I've stammered upon. Okay. Does anybody else, I know you do, Kelly, not to call you out, but from like floppy eyelash syndrome? My
does anyone
eyelashes
suffer? You were missing like a verb.
Oh,
you said,
I'm sorry.
Does anyone floppy eyelash syndrome? And I was like, does anyone what floppy eyelash syndrome?
Enter adjective here.
No, verb.
Verb. I'm like big time dudding in this episode. This is not a reflection of my intelligence, I promise.
Eyelash syndrome.
Does anybody suffer from floppy eyelash syndrome? What I mean is, do your eyelashes, they're long, but do your lashes straight?
Hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow?
Pretty much. Like, I feel like my eyelashes just cover my eyeballs and like all I can see is eyelash, like a little like windshield. And it's really upsetting because whenever I try to just like put on a cute little swipe of mascara, you can't even tell. And it just drips down my face, especially when I start to cry. Anyway.
Oh, okay. So the query is, does anyone have a recommended method of lifting the lashes besides getting a lash lift. Have you gotten a lash lift?
I have gotten a lash lift before. Actually, when I was at University of Tennessee, I would get many lash treatments. I was on the eyelash extension trend for a while there.
Were you?
Yeah, we were doing a lot to put a Band-Aid on a lot of other things.
Bigger issues.
Yeah. But yes, I have gotten a lash lift and I was very pleased with the results of those. So I think I actually waddled into a eyelash studio right down the street in Hoboken, was like, hi, how much for your lift? And it was actually a reasonable price. So I think that's probably the solution. But
how much was it?
Thinking $80.
Oh yeah. That's like what I paid in. I get one like every few months or so here in Atlanta just to like open these babies up. And yeah, it's like $75 or so.
Oh, okay. Well, I was expecting like $150 just because everything's more expensive around here.
Yeah.
So, it's not cheap, but something to consider. But then I was thinking, I was like, shouldn't there be a product for this? Like an eyelash mousse or something? Has anyone invented that? Because or like some eyelash hairspray or like a heated curling iron eyelash curler.
Here's the thing.
Which, sounds really scary.
Yeah, so there is a heated eyelash curler. That does exist. I've also read many times to like heat up your eyelash curler with a blow dryer, get it a little warm, not too hot, and do it that way. But as a non-medical professional or a second line medical professional, if you will, I think the problem with all that is that chemicals for your eyes are so dangerous and scary, and like testing is really hard, and like that's probably why you don't see a lot of these products just like coming out all the time, is because the risks and like the lawsuit opportunities are abundant,
right,
for getting bad things in your eyes. Because I've used to get my lashes lifted here, and occasionally, or it's, I don't know, you can also do a tint. And the tint, I can't do that, which I don't need to. My eyelashes are literally the same color as my hair, which is very dark. So it doesn't serve a purpose. But I'm like, I have some bizarre sensitivity to whatever dye is in there that like literally makes it feel like my eyes are burning off. That dye is not permitted in the state of California, because I got my lashes lifted one time there and I wanted them dyed. And they were like, oh no, sorry, it's forbidden in California. We have like additional laws on chemicals, and that chemical is outlawed in California. Wow. So that I was pissed at the time. I'm like, well, you don't have that on your website. But
you're like, girl, sorry, we're not going to poison your eyes.
Yeah, sorry, we're not trying to blind you. But yeah, I thought about it more. I'm like, yeah, just honestly not worth it, and not worth buying like a cheap drugstore product to blind yourself with either, is what Savage says about that.
All right, that's fair. So
what about your other question?
My other question is, does anybody know how to save a TikTok that you've made and edited in the TikTok app without the watermark? Because, guys, I discovered how to do it, and then I went to go do it today, and like the option wasn't there. So I'm like, did I dream that? Did I do it in like a way that was secret? I'm lost. So if anybody has the answer to that question, please hit us up, because I would like to spread our content on multiple platforms, and I can't do that when I make a fire TikTok and then have the watermark all over it. It's just not cute.
Yeah, this millennial has no advice for you on that. I am a TikTok consumer. I dabbled as a TikTok creator. I have about 65 drafts from my Europe trip that honestly are probably like awesome content in there. And what did I go to school for? Video editing, pretty much. My degree is in broadcast journalism. But you know what? I have a gripe with my journalism degree, because literally no one ever taught me anything about video editing. Like, we had to do it in class, but it was like, okay, here's Adobe Premiere, figure it out.
Yeah. There was Google it.
Like, I asked my professor, who is now deceased, Doctor, I'll leave her name out of this. Like, yes, it's sad, but it's sad, but I don't miss her. Dr. XYZ, it was like a straightforward editing question too. It was like, do you know how to delete this clip off of here? Right. Yeah. She literally looked me dead in the eyes and said, ask Sudu, who was one of my classmates. And yes, Sudu was a video prodigy, but he was also in the class with me. And like, he also wasn't like a like freak nerd who just like was in this class to check a box. Like he should have been learning something from her too, but he was – no one was, so he was more advanced. I was probably number 2 in the class in that department.
For the record.
I'm like – and, you know, I knew she wasn't going to know, but I just kind of wanted to like ask to be confident that indeed she provided no value. But yeah, she told me to ask one of my classmates, and I did, and he did know. Ask Sudu. And honestly, I'm pretty sure too, like we had to switch partners in that class every week, like who you were working with to produce a news package. I'm pretty sure Sudu was my partner that week. So I'm almost sure I went to her and she said, ask Sudu. And I was like, well, I did ask Sudu. We're working on this together. He wasn't sure, so we thought we would ask our professor, who we're paying, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to learn something from here. But no, okay.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know anything. I didn't learn on the internet about video editing, and I'm sure I could figure it out on TikTok, but I just don't care enough. And therefore, all of my Europe vlogs will probably be trapped in the app forever.
No, we'll make good use of them, especially once my schedule frees up a little bit. I asked Caitlyn previously.
I asked Caitlyn if I could pay her to edit my Europe vlogs, and she said yes, but then she doesn't even answer my phone calls. So,
oh my God, you're being so dramatic. I'm a busy girl living in a busy, busting life. That was
it was right there. You could have just said busy world, but you had to make it weird.
Okay. It's time to go.
Okay. Well, thanks, kitties. It's been a joy. Next time you talk to me, I probably will have decided not to get married because there are too many dresses and also not enough. And we'll have visited 146 stores by then. But if you have any recommendations on where to go for a bridal dress that I haven't already been, why not? I'm flying across the country, going here, there, and everywhere as it is. Might as well add one to the list. Thanks for coming along. Caitlyn, I think this was a good deep dive into our respective passions. And hopefully you get some bites on this TikTok and eyelash query. Sorry, I couldn't be more help. This is my one and only job, is to provide you advice, and we have to turn to the group here.
My wise grasshopper. Yeah, well, I'll come back with an update if we get any.
You would be my grasshopper. I would be the wise like dojo master in most situations.
My only frame of reference of this is the Club Penguin dojo, where he says, "Yes, young grasshopper," and I just reversed it, assuming that it meant they were interchangeable. But yes, you're right.
No, I think it's from the Karate Kid, ? I've never seen that movie, but no, it's the grasshopper is the student.
I've never seen that movie either, but I did go through a phase where I was obsessed with Jackie Chan, I think just for like the camp of it, when I was like 9.
Yeah, I remember that. You were having like a taekwondo, because I think he did like acrobatic tricks too, so you were like kind of living in that moment. You know, it's fun.
I was kind of like obsessed.
The other night we were we picked up Chinese food, and sometimes we like to eat dinner with themed music. So I was like, Alexa, play the Mulan soundtrack, and oh, she's starting. She just started playing it.
Look at me.
Yeah, well, we turned on some song, and I was singing the lyric, and Matt was like, "That's not the lyric. It's this." And I was like, "Excuse me, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, I used to watch Mulan a lot with Vera May. Vera May is not. Vera May is not an ex-girlfriend.
No.
She wouldn't be alive anymore if that were the case. But no, Vera May was Matt's 3-year-old roommate for a period of time when he was living with her dad. And he used to watch cartoons with her sometimes, apparently. And she had a big Mulan face. So
it's kind of like me and Matt when you're out of town.
Yeah, exactly. His 3-year-old roommate, Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
History repeats itself.
All right. Well, with that I'm going to go listen to the Mulan soundtrack. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. And I am off to defeat the Huns. What are you doing?
Will my reflection show who I am inside? Bye.